Hello and welcome or welcome back to Read Becca, for my weekly chatty catch up on everything I read, everything I'm currently reading, and everything I'm looking forward to reading for roughly the current week, as well as some general chit chat and lifey stuff. So I keep thinking I don't have really anything to talk about this week, and then reminding myself I read several things for mid-month book bash last weekend, and I really threw a lot of time at reading, but didn't make the progress I kind of expected, but that's fine. So my reading has been low, but slow, but not low, I think is really where I'm going with that. So I have quite a few things to at least mention, and then if you are interested, there should be a vlog probably this week talking a little bit more about these. So the first one that I finished was Hisashi Kashiwai's The Kamogawa Food Detectives, translated from Japanese by Kirkwood. And this was cozy, but there's not very much detectiving to this, so not a mystery really. This is really a series of vignettes that follow exactly the same structure and repeat over and over again. And I think that is kind of a common Japanese storytelling technique. It reminds me a little bit of ancient oral storytelling, where things go in cycles, repeating, and there's like one element changed each time. That's kind of what this is. So every story is the same structure of a client showing up at the restaurant that this father and daughter, adult daughter, run, and they both are running the restaurant and running the food detective agency, where they receive these clients who are looking for a specific meal that they have an emotional connection to or some important memory of. And I think I enjoyed that, but I also kind of wish that we had gotten a lot more of the actual figuring out the recipe and how that was done, because it is just sort of part one, client shows up, tells them what they want, and they have the same story beats of conversation even, and then part two is the client coming back a week or two later and getting the meal, and the father explains kind of how he figured it out very briefly, and that's about it. Again, it's the same thing over and over. So this was fine. I am glad I read it, I think. That sounds so unconvincing. I'm glad I read it. It was kind of what I needed. It was very restful and gentle on my brain. So another restful and gentle on my brain read was Peg and Rose Stir Up Trouble by Laurien Berenson. This is the second in the Senior Sleuths series, and I enjoyed the first one enough that I wanted to continue on, and that's kind of where we're at with this one as well. So again, it was fine. It was not super memorable. Peg and Rose are sisters-in-law who are grudgingly increasing their relationship, and along the way they have become kind of amateur sleuths together. So in this particular volume though, we have Rose is trying to convince Peg to start dating again, get her on the apps. And so this starts with that process. And Peg meets someone. She gets a connection that seems amazingly strong but natural to her, and she's really into it, and then he dies in a hit and run at the beginning of the book. But there are some suspicious circumstances there. So the two of them naturally start investigating and progress along the way with their investigation. This was very slow though. It felt like it was just continually, and it's not very long, but it felt like it was continually adding more info to what they were uncovering, but not culminating toward anything. So it didn't blow me out of the water. Again, this was very gentle and calming. There was not a lot of action or drama whatsoever, so it was kind of what I needed, but it didn't blow me away. There is a third book out. I've already seen it at the library, and I think I will probably continue on as well. And then lastly, for that vlog for Mid-Month Book Bash, I read The Mimicking of Known Successes by Malka. So I did talk about this quite a bit more, but it's hard to talk about the plot of this one because this is the most actual mystery. This is not cozy as far as I'm concerned, but it is a sci-fi mystery set on a inhabited Jupiter in the future. And I really enjoyed this, but I also struggled with it because I was having such a slow reading challenge to read really time, especially when I was working on this book. And this is the most well-written of the books that I read for Mid-Month Book Bash. It has some big words, which are not really a problem for me, but the words and the structure of how it's written really challenged me in my brain space right now. So I very much enjoyed this though. This was the one I enjoyed the most out of my vlog reads. And I think it was down to characterization and the ideas of this more so than the mystery. I truly don't feel the mystery here can be solved, but I think there was so much compelling about the investigation, about what they're looking into, that I felt this was well worth reading, and I absolutely will be continuing on with the series 100%, and hopefully I will be in a better brain space for the next one. So those are my mid-month book bash reads. And then one that I have to talk about outside of that, but I don't have too much to say about it, is Ruru to Rara no Kasutaro Purin, which is Lulu and Lala's custard pudding. So this was very cute. As you can see, there are custard puddings here, or like creme caramel kind of flan sort of thing, I think. This was really difficult though. So this is kind of on the transition to chapter book, from picture book to chapter book for children, I think, in Japanese. And that is pretty far into being capable of reading kanji, which is the more complex alphabet in Japanese. So it was hard. I spent multiple days working on this and trying to slowly work through it. You can see it is, like, there is quite a bit of text for Japanese. This is a fair amount. And there are these black and white line pictures, but there are also quite a lot of pages that are full color and just really beautiful. So the story was very simple, I think. And I didn't get a ton of it. So this is one I could see myself going back to, perhaps when I am more at the appropriate reading level. But more or less what I got out of it is Lulu and Lala are trying to plan a party with immense desserts. And this is the process. It's like them kind of going on a journey to learn how to make custard pudding because they really wanted it at their party, I think. But I don't think I got it all. Yeah, so that's about all I have to say about this one. It was, again, fine, and it was great for progressing along, challenging myself with learning Japanese, which has been a very long, slow process, unfortunately. So I think that is it for the books that I have finished this week, and I'm actually excited because that's 4 books from the library that I can return. I'm trying to narrow down my library stuff right now because I've let myself get into the treadmill of library instead of picking up my own books, and I need to not do that. So on the docket that I am working on reading right now, I'm about halfway through Wellness for the Book 2 prize, so I can't really talk about that one, and Conspirituality on audio, which is a nonfiction. And I do just have to say, it is so weird that I'm reading the 2 of those at the same time because they both have complete overlap in topics. Very, very strange. So that's adding, I think, to my reading experience of both. So I think that's it. I think that's all for books. In watching, I watched an Italian murder mystery, like isolated closed circle in a snowbound manor house type situation called 7 Women and a Murder, I think. 7 Ladies in a Murder, something like that. So I'll put that up here. But I enjoyed it a lot. It's very kind of soap opera-y, like really melodramatic. So if you're not in it for a little cheesy melodrama, that's definitely over the top and they are playing it up. That is a major element. It also has the most gorgeous, like rich, lush, colorful costuming and setting, and I really liked that. But I think the cheese factor was very high with this one, but I definitely enjoyed it. So I would recommend checking that out. It's on Netflix if you want to watch it, if you have any interest. But it was great for finally getting back to a little bit of kind of light narrative stuff that I knew wasn't really going to bother me if I missed out on some things. And yeah, it's definitely not a mystery you would take terribly seriously. So I think that's it for watching. I've been watching a lot of still very reality show stuff that is very light on my brain. So as far as life stuff, I will try not to take too long as I don't really have anything here to talk about. I have a very stuff-based, like things-based update this week. I just wanted to show you some things that I've discovered that are bringing me joy, that I bought. And so kind of a stuff haul. And then other random things, I'm going to try and focus on positives of the week rather than negatives of the week. So I think the big thing that's in the positives column for the week is that I heard at the shelter that I foster for last month, they broke a record on cat and kitten adoptions at just under 170. And that is amazing. That is so cool. And I am so happy and proud to be part of that as a foster. Very much them being able to juggle cats around and keep cats in quarantine outside of the shelter helps them be able to do that and have that kind of constant turnover of cats. So very exciting. But also on the downside of that is the fact that the reason that is happening and needed is because this has been kind of the worst kitten season ever since I've been fostering, certainly, and I think for the shelter ever. And it's not just the shelter that I foster for or my area, it seems to be everywhere. They're having a real struggle with kitten season this year. So if you are at all able to foster or thinking about fostering and you have any questions or doubts, absolutely feel free to ask me questions down in the comments box, because I'm more than happy to answer. If you have an open bathroom that you can put kittens in and just have that space for them, more than likely that is a positive for them. That almost any shelter would be pleased to have you take some kittens and supplies from them, because that's going to give them almost surely more space than they would have at most shelters. It's going to give them more one-on-one interaction, and you'll be able to keep a little better eye on them in a home isolated setting versus at the shelter. So regardless of it being a great shelter or it being like an animal control that's very underfunded, they will almost certainly be pleased to have someone take their kittens, and they will help you with training and supplies. So definitely feel free to ask questions. So anyway, that was a massive positive of the week. Other things, I had a small big win, or a big small win, I'm not sure. My vacuum died, and it was very sad, but this vacuum has served me really well. I have a Shark, and those are they're not like in the upper echelon of vacuums that are super duper expensive, but it's more than I would buy for myself. Someone got it for me as a gift, and it has served me well for multiple years. So I was kind of like, okay, well, it did great dealing with the amount of animals I have, the fact that I had carpet for most of the time and just recently got hardwood, but like it has served me well, so I was fine with it having died, but I was also bummed out. And I spent the time last weekend researching and looking into whether I wanted to replace it with the same type of vacuum, if there was another type of vacuum, and it seems worthwhile to spend the money, right? Because it has been so good versus just getting a cheap one, which is what I would tend to do. And so I was like, I think I really am gonna do this. But then kind of the last minute, right before I was gonna click the button and purchase, I was like, you know what, wait a minute. I think that this is a real big problem and it's not going to be easily fixable, but let me see what replacements parts they have, because there is something connected to the bigger thing that it might be. So let me try and get a replacement part. So I spent the $20, including shipping, to get the replacement part kit and try it out. And it got here, and it was the minor part. So instead of buying a whole new vacuum, I was able to successfully stop myself from just giving up and saving my time rather than my money, and wait for the replacement part, get it, and it works. So that was really a win that I needed in my life, I think, instead of having to spend quite a bit on a new vacuum. The other things were minor purchases that kind of made my day over. Really, this was the past couple weeks. We are getting into fall season, I guess, or fall item season locally. So very random. These are all kind of fall-ish or nature-ish. First off, I guess we'll do the total fall stuff. So these I found at the kind of more bougie grocery store in my regional area, and they're very cute. So I got a towel that says, "Hey there, pumpkin," with a cat and a pumpkin, and then a doggo one with a pumpkin. Very cute, because I'm always into those adorable little seasonal towels. And then if you've been around at all, you know I really love mushroomy themed things. So I have randomly found very cute, like very traditional red top, white dot mushroom stuff. First at Target, I found a cute card that says "Party your caps off." So I don't know who that's gonna go to, but certainly someone that I like. And then at Aldi, I found a vase that is also same style of mushroom. I don't know what to really use this for. I think it could be good for like very short trimmed flowers, but it's such an odd size. So I'm trying to think about, or if you have any ideas, please let me know. Think about how this could be used other than just flowers, potentially. And then this one was very random. This was from a different regional grocery store, the less bougie one, my standard grocery store pretty much. And this is actually a warmie. So like you're supposed to heat it up, and it's soft on top and then has the little beady stuff inside. You're supposed to warm it up in the microwave and use it as a heating pad, basically. But I think I'm going to use it as a doorstop, because I have one doorstop and it's very seasonal, and this one seems like it would be a better year-round one, and it's got a little weight to it. So I think I'm going to use this as my cute little mushroomy doorstop. So yeah, so those are very, very random. And I think that is it for my week this week, I've again rambled on about nonsense instead of books, but that's okay. As I said, I do hope to have my mid-month book bash vlog up this next week, sometime midweek. I pretty much just have to cut things together in the order that they happened, and that's about it. And also I'm gonna have to cut out a lot of cat footage, because otherwise it would be a 2-hour vlog of almost entirely cat footage. But we'll have to choose the good clips. So that's the hardest part of editing, is choosing which cat clips to include. So anyway, recommendations. I have a couple of great recommendations this week. My recommendation for the week number 1 is Sui's Book Banter did a nice video on the topic of YA books being read by adults and whether or not we should, and what you might be missing out on. So I like that quite a bit. And then the second is someone I'm constantly hyping here. Is PhilosophyTube did yet another great video. If you're not paying attention to my recommendations of PhilosophyTube, at least give it a shot. Try it, because every single thing that they put out is so fantastic. Abigail is a delight to watch, and the whole team that create those videos really clearly do a great job. So this one is on the topic of our perspective on death, and naturally it includes Caitlin Doughty, who I love. Caitlin Doughty runs a YouTube channel on death and has written a number of books on the topic, and just is a really wonderful person. She runs the Ask a Mortician, which you've probably heard of. So Caitlin Doughty and Abigail together, like more frequently, I think would be like a fantastic collab. So I enjoyed that a ton, but that was as always. And also, PhilosophyTube always includes a ton of books. So there were probably a dozen different books that were referred to throughout the video. So if you want more books that are kind of on the topic, that's a great place to turn as well. So I think that is all for me today. It's been a rambly, all over the place one, as per usual lately anymore, but hopefully we're heading toward some light at the end of the tunnel. Oh, I forgot one of the most minor and dumb updates. The holes in my yard are done. Like, everybody has been on this journey with me where they did road work and destroyed all of the utility lines because of it, and so people were having to dig holes and rerun utility lines for permanency because they really screwed up. And so there were holes through my yard for like a month and a half, 2 months, something like that. It's been a really long time. So they finally closed it up. And I will include some footage of that by way of some animal friendliness that showed it as well, I think, because weather changing has meant animal movement has been quite significant as well around my neighborhood. But anyway, that'll be in the vlog. But then I talked to the gas company, and they are coming to do some maintenance at the end of September and have to dig more holes. So that was a hilarious item in my week. However, they committed that it would only be a day or two. So hopefully that will not be prolonged again. So this time for real, that is it for my bookish week. Thank you all so very much for sticking with me. I just appreciate everyone so much for hanging in there for these rambles and being oddly curious about my boring week.